the distinct pleasure to introduce you to your presenters here today. We have Courtney Wallace. Hopefully she'll wave. She is the Director of Admission for the Chicago region, and she serves as an admission counselor, so she may have read your application. And today we also have Mary Windeconnect. Hopefully she'll also wave. She is the Director of First Year Advising and works closely with orientation and registration. So they are both going to bring a wealth of knowledge here for you today. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and mute my mic, and I'm going to turn the presentation over to Mary and Courtney.
Great, guys. Good morning. We're so happy to have you here with us today. We really wish that we could be doing this in person, but we're all going to get through this together, and we've got some great information for you today. We'll probably go through it pretty quickly, but we'll definitely have our information, our contact information at the end, and you can connect with us if you have further questions. And like Rachel said, don't be shy to put your questions in the chat box. So we know a lot of you in this room have, or in our virtual room, have already committed to Augie, and so welcome to the Augustana family. We also know that many of you in this room are getting ready to submit your tuition deposit and maybe have questions about how to do that. So it's really easy. You can submit your $350 tuition deposit and secure your place in Augie's class of 2024 simply by logging into your student portal and paying online, or you can mail your check or money order to the address listed below. So what happens when you pay your tuition deposit is you start to get new communication sequences from Augustana. Obviously, the first thing we want to do is celebrate, and we hope that you'll join us virtually during our gong ringing ceremony session starting at 1 o'clock today. But you'll also want to make sure that you check out the Augie Bound site. So augustana.edu/Augustana Bound, and later I'll show you some links to some social media channels that you can help celebrate with us as well. So what happens next? And this is for deposited students only. So some of you that have already deposited, some of this will look familiar to you. However, those of you that haven't deposited yet, this is what you can expect. So the first thing is you'll start getting, many of you might have connected with Residential Life earlier today and heard that our housing application will go live on May 1st. You'll be able to create an account. You can create a roommate group if you know for sure there's a student that is also deposited that you'd like to room with. However, the majority of students will be matched by Augustana, and Chris Beyer went over the housing application questionnaire a little bit earlier, but just making sure that you're really matched with someone that's compatible with you. We do require a $150 refundable housing deposit that can be submitted by June 30th. And roommate, you can expect roommate assignments to be shared in mid-July. You'll also want to make sure that you submit your housing application by June 30th. You probably heard a little bit in one of the earlier sessions that May 1st is the national candidate reply date for tuition deposits, but we have extended that for those students who still need a little bit of extra time to June 1st. So don't forget to put any questions in the chat box. Accommodations. So I'm sure that Chris Beyer went over this a little bit too. If you have accommodations for housing, you must complete the online form by June 30th. If you have academic accommodations necessary, you'll also want to fill the online form out by June 30th. Both of these forms will be available after May 1st. And again, this will be in your email sequence going to students that are deposited officially. So immunizations, students will be able to start uploading records online after May 1st. And these immunization records are due by July 1st. Certainly we are going to be flexible throughout the summer if you're unable to gather those, but you will need those before classes start in the fall. If you attended a high school, and certainly in the state of Illinois, you'll likely already meet the immunization requirements, and it does include the meningitis vaccine. So Mary, if you want to start talking a little bit about the next steps too.
I will. Hello, everyone. I'm in the advising office, as Rachel said. I recognize many of your names as well for different reasons, and it's because many of you have already gotten started on these O&R steps. So I want to go to that site and show you what you will see once you make a tuition deposit, you will receive an email from the admissions office, and that email will send you a link to this page. That email will also provide you with your student ID number. So I'm hoping that everyone is seeing my screen. I will assume, unless I hear from one of our hosts, that you can see my screen. So, okay, so this is the first page that you will navigate to begin the steps that are necessary for orientation and registration. This is the page that you go to. I want to show something else that's on this page, and that is this New Students tab at the top here. You definitely want to check out the items that are on the New Students tab, because there's a lot of other information for you there in addition to this information about orientation and registration. So I'm just going to scroll down and show you what this looks like. There is a note here about the June events being canceled, and I will come back to that when we go to our next step in terms of talking about timing and next steps. So this information you might look through here, although again it needs to be updated because of the cancellation of our June events. If you already have deposited, you received an email that told you about the cancellation of the June events. We are currently working on plans to continue the process of registration throughout the summer. So be watching that. So down here, you're going to see how to sign up for orientation and registration. And there are 9 steps you have to complete here. This first step, create your Augustana network account, that is the step that must be done before you can do any of the other steps. I want to point out before I go into this step that there are a lot of helpful information and in terms of who you can contact if you need help with one of these steps. For instance, if you can't find your ID number, the admissions office can give that to you. So back on this first step, number 1, it's creating your Augustana network account. You do this step first, and once you've done it, you do not need to go back and redo this step because you've already established your network IT account at Augustana. When you get done with this step, you will have your username and your password. If you forget your password, this tells you right in this paragraph here how to go back in and reset your password if you forget it. But you don't ever have to do this step again. Then you're going to access your email account as the second step here. We want you to be sure and be looking at your student email. Many of you communicate to us from personal emails, and that's good, but primarily the way that we're going to reach out to you is through your Augustana email account once you have set up your account and accessed your email account. So be sure and watch that. And again, you can see helpful numbers here if you have some sort of a challenge completing these steps. It doesn't happen very often, but we want to make it easy for you to contact a person who can help you. Then you're going to be identifying your emergency contacts. We need to have that information in our records. And you will click on each of these buttons that will help you finish that step, and then navigate back to this page to go on to the next step. This step, step number 4, is to give your parents access, or anybody else who might be paying your bill, access to your e-billing. Some of you may be planning to pay your tuition bill yourselves, but in many cases we understand that that's someone else. This is a required step, as these other steps are, to set up your e-billing information right here and a phone number for the business office if you have any problems with that step. Step number 5 is signing up for Augie alerts. Your parents may want to do this as well. When you sign up for Augie alerts, you're giving us your cell phone number or your email address. We have that already, but you're giving us permission to contact you in perhaps other ways to notify you These might be things about messages about cancellations of classes on a snow day. They would be things like that. And then if your parents want to sign up, they can do that as well at this link. Step 6 is to take a readiness survey. This is a very brief survey, and it gives us an idea of how you view your readiness for college, your own study skills and behaviors. It sort of gives your first year advisor some insight into you. Also, in step number 7, you're filling out, it's called Complete the Dear First Year Advisor form. You are completing a form that is specifically giving your first year advisor information about you, what your goals are, what you think your struggles might be, what you think your strengths are. And this is really nice. It's like almost like sending a letter to your first year advisor to introduce yourself. There are instructions here about how to get to that, and a phone number here at the bottom if you have trouble. Then let us know about your language study. There are typically quite a few questions about language study and the requirement for a second language at Augustana. So you can look at that information here when you click on second language options. I'm going to just quickly navigate to this page real briefly. When you get to this page, you need to complete one of these options down below. You're going to read the information up above. You want to read all of these options to make sure you understand which one best applies to you. So if it's option 1 or 2 that applies to you, you want to go to this link because that is a link to the tests. If you fit into category 3, 4, or 5, you want to go to this option. So I just want to encourage you to read through those steps, those options completely before you choose one that is right for you. And then this last step, which if we have any transfer students, this step is not required for you. But first year students, there is a link that we want you to go to here. It's called a course interest form. And really it's much more than even a course interest form. It is telling us what your interests are, what you're thinking about majoring in. If you don't know that yet, that is perfectly fine if you don't know and you're open to exploring. It tells us about involvement in athletics and music. It tells us whether you have any scholarships that we need to accommodate in your fall or spring schedule. It tells us what kind of AP or dual credit you might be bringing in. So this form is very important. You will also want to go to this link that explains about the courses you'll take in your first year. Okay, there's a lot of information there, and it's helpful for you to know those things before we go on to next steps. So there's information here that will be updated soon. This also references that our June orientation events have been canceled. But if you already signed up for one of those events, don't worry, we know exactly who you are, and we're going to be reaching out to you soon to tell you about what your next steps are. I am going to go back and stop sharing at this point. Let's see. I am not sure how to get back. I'm going to assume everyone can hear me. Can I have some head nods if you can hear me? Excellent. Those of you that I can see, I can hear. And I don't know what is on your screen right now. Maybe it is the original PowerPoint that Courtney put up. Is that correct, Courtney?
We can see your face, Mary.
You can see my face. All right, I'm going to continue with my face, and then Courtney will take it over from there. So what I want to tell you, I want to go through a couple of things about how we think we're going to handle the summer. we have piloted something new, and we're thinking that we may do that for the remainder of the summer. Obviously, our preference is to have you come to campus and to meet you one-on-one, but for right now, that isn't possible. We have different options that we're considering, and that we will be in touch with you and let you know what those are. But right now, the plan is, if you pay your tuition deposit and complete these steps, we're going to reach out to you, and perhaps we will create a fall schedule for you based on the course interest form, your responses on there, and then we will be reaching out to you to set up a virtual advising meeting that is one-on-one just for you. And you will be talking to me or other advisors in the advising office to help walk through your fall schedule so that you understand why you're taking the classes that you're taking, and you have a chance to ask questions. We will make changes to your schedule if they're necessary. One thing I want to address with you, let me go back to my notes. Again, we are thinking about your major interests, scholarships, whether you're in the honors program, music, athletics, whether you've completed the language requirement already, whether you have not. We're looking at all of those factors. And we're also going to be looking at AP credit. And I want to mention briefly something about AP credit specifically. Because we ask you for your AP exams, we want to know on that course interest form which exams you're taking. Not necessarily the classes, AP classes, but the exams. Because the way that we generally handle AP credit, possible AP credit, is to assume that you're going to get a 4 or a 5 on your AP exam. We will not put you in a course for which you're taking an AP exam. So if you're taking AP psychology, for instance, I will not enroll you in the introduction to psychology. However, if you find that you didn't get a 4 or a 5 on the AP psych test and you want to major in psychology, we're going to go back and fix your schedule because we want to make sure that you're on track. So I hope that helps, and I hope if you have questions about this that you're putting those in the chat box. Let's see, what else do I want to tell you? You will probably receive a link after you've completed those O&R steps. I'm sorry, orientation and registration steps. I have to not shorthand it. Apologize for that. You're going to get a link, and that link will most likely include a link, or that email will include a link to an advisor's calendar where you can choose from lots of different appointment times for that appointment. Then you will choose a time. We will be aware that you've chosen that time, and we will connect either by video or phone when the time comes for your meeting. We're excited about this, and I can tell you that I've enjoyed the very small group of students that we've done this with. Were students that were supposed to come on to the April 4th event, and it has gone very well. You can plan for about a half an hour of meeting time for just you in those meetings. And let me make sure. Remember that if you need accommodations in the academic accommodations for the classroom, that there is an online form that you need to fill out, and we'd like to have those by June 30th. If you don't make that date, we're not going to refuse you academic accommodations, obviously, but we would like them there so that we can plan and be prepared for you in the fall. Then I want you to rest assured that, let's say you don't make a decision very soon. We hope that you do make a decision very soon for Augustana, because we're excited to meet you. But if you don't, I don't want you to be concerned that all the classes are going to be gone by the time we talk with you and have your meeting time. We are very careful to parcel out class seats carefully over the summertime. We know that that's better for us, and it's especially and more importantly better for you. So that makes our job easier, and it helps you be more satisfied with your schedule. So we're thinking about those things, and that is not a concern for us. Let's see. I think at this point, if you have questions, I will be happy to field those in the chat feature. I'm going to turn it back over to Courtney Wallace right now, who's going to tell you a little bit about the start of the school year and Welcome Week. Thank you, everybody.
So I am going to share my screen again here really quickly, and I think you should be seeing it momentarily if you don't already. Okay, so I can't tell you how excited we are for the fall. We miss students on campus, and I know you too are ready to get back with your friends and to start this adventure and next steps in your future. And this all starts with Welcome Week. And what is Welcome Week? It's a lot of fun, first of all. It's an opportunity for you to get to know the campus, and it all kicks off on move-in, first year move-in day, which is Thursday, August 27th. You'll have a full schedule of activities, and as you heard earlier, you're going to meet with a first year or transfer advisor over the summer, but you're again going to meet with a first year or transfer advisor during this Welcome Week. Many of you I know are looking to work on campus, and so there'll be a job fair for students that are seeking employment. You're actually going to be paired with a peer mentor and a whole peer mentor group, and you'll be traveling around with one another for that whole Welcome Week period, where you'll get to know each other, have a lot of fun, and you'll have people that you can ask questions of, and certainly eat all your meals with. We know that many students that come to Augustana don't know anyone and are eager to meet friends. And so this is that opportunity for students to connect one-on-one with each other and really begin building a community. And there's certainly going to be an activities fair. I know many of you are really excited about getting involved, whether that be through music or student activities, and we will have an activities fair during that opening week time. So some of you might also be invited to PACE. And PACE stands for Preparation, Awareness, Community, and Engagement. The PACE Multicultural Mentorship Program is a year-long program. It's designed for first-year students of color. If you've already deposited, this is looking really familiar to you because we did already email out invites to this program. If you have not yet deposited, you will be getting an email about this after your deposit has been processed. We really do want students to register by July 5th, because we know that there's lots of preparation on your behalf. You're going to be moving in a little bit earlier, which is awesome, but it also takes some planning. And certainly, we want to prepare for you so that you can have the best experience. So if you're going to be taking part of the PACE program, you're going to be moving in before the rest of the first year student body. Your move-in date would be Sunday, August 23rd. And the PACE program, the orientation program, runs August 23rd through the 26th. But again, PACE really is a whole year-long program, and it's kicked off by this orientation date that starts, or this orientation program that runs from the 23rd to the 26th. I'll tell you that I have 10 student workers that work for me in admissions, 5 first-year students, and 3 of them were part of the PACE program this year, and that's where they have met some of their best friends. So those of you that are invited, we really hope that you are, that you come to that. So move-in, Chris Beyer in the housing session talked a little bit about this already, but I wanted to quickly go over some of the specifics. Again, we cannot wait to welcome our first year students on Thursday, August 27th. We are literally counting down the days. And I know that there's also athletes in this fall, athletes both fall and spring in this section, and you might be wondering, what's the move-in schedule for us? So you will be hearing directly from your coaches, but these are the dates that we know of so far. So we know that football will be moving in on Tuesday, August 11th. We know that men's and women's soccer, women's golf, women's volleyball will all be moving in on Tuesday, August 18th. And we don't yet know dates for men's and women's cross country, men's golf, and women's tennis. So those are to be determined. And again, you will hear about those dates from your coach individually. And if you have questions before they reach out to you, please feel free to reach out to your coaches directly. So first day of classes, Monday, August 31st. And I was so excited that I did count the days, and we're about 135 days away. So at this point, we want to make sure that we get all of your questions answered. I know Rachel's been taking notes and will be able to ask us questions. So I'm going to unshare my screen here and allow for this to allow for us to answer some questions. So Rach, hit us with the questions.
We've got some really great questions in the chat box. So continue to ask those questions. Many of them Wendy and I have been able to answer, but there are a couple that I want to elaborate on. There were a few questions about student employment. Court, I know you mentioned the on-campus job fair, but students are curious about when they can start applying for on-campus jobs, and can freshmen have a job?
Well, first of all, of course, freshmen can have jobs. We hire students that are eligible for work study and also students that are non-work study. We have about 2,600 students on campus, and the last I heard, about 1,800 of them do work. So our students work up to 10 hours per week. And when you come to campus, we will ask that you bring your employment paperwork, even if you don't know if you're planning to work or not, because we understand, and from our years of experience know that getting that paperwork is sometimes more difficult once you're on campus, because it does require some other documentation. So when you come to campus, bring that paperwork with you. We'll have it filed in our HR office, payroll office, and that way it makes it super easy for you to get a job and to have, and of course, get your paycheck. At orientation, typically, and during Welcome Week, I'm sure this will, and Mary, you can touch on this too, students will have access to something called Handshake, which is basically our online job board. And it typically seems that a lot of jobs start being posted around August 1st, but they go on through the month of August and certainly in early September. But again, there will be that job fair, and there'll be lots of hiring as a result of the job fair. I don't know if there's anything else you'd add to that, Mary.
I would just add that when we are, I work in the core office, and hopefully you've been to campus and know where the core office is. I know that we hold student employment positions for first-year students. So there is an effort made to set aside jobs specifically for incoming students. So when you do come to campus, I think you might actually even have access to Handshake on the website earlier. I'm not certain about that, but you could certainly try and see if you can see the positions on Handshake. But that would be the place to go, and you can certainly come to core, because student employment is handled through the core office, and somebody at that reception desk on the first floor of Olin can help you if you need more information.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Next question, really quickly, how late can a student declare their major in their Augie experience?
Okay, I can talk about that. The earliest you can declare a major is in the spring term of your first year. Now, you may have friends attending other institutions who are able to declare right away. And that's fine. That works fine as well. At our institution, we want to give you that first term to consider exploring, keep your options open. However, for instance, I noticed somebody in this group is going to study biology in pre-med. Even though you haven't declared your biology pre-med major, when we see that that is your intention, we're going to make sure you are in the right classes to prepare you. We don't want to wait until you declare to start you on the road for those major courses. So you will see those reflected in your very first year of classes. whatever your major is. If you are not decided and you're feeling a little bit of pressure about not knowing what you want to study, I want to encourage you in that that is okay. And students who come in not knowing, I had no clue when I went to college. You're going to be doing a lot of exploring to fulfill the liberal arts core requirements, and college is the perfect place to figure out what you want to study. So, and we have other resources available through core to help you determine what are your passions, what are your interests, what kind of a typical workday do you want, what do you know you don't want. I mean, there are a lot of good conversations that we can help you think through. We have somebody in the advising office that is 100% devoted to this effort. So we're here to help you with that. Now, we want you to declare by the end of your sophomore year. If you came to us at the end of your sophomore year and you hadn't taken any education classes, for instance, we might be challenged to get you through the education program because it's a very structured program. But many majors, you don't have to declare them until later because there's more flexibility within the major. So you can declare as early as the spring term of your first year. When you declare, you begin working with an advisor that is in your major department, a faculty member in that department. Otherwise, in your first year, you're going to be working with a faculty member who is serving as a first-year advisor. This is a terrific group of faculty members who love working with first-year students. So you have one advisor to get you started and an advisor that is an expert in your major once you declare. Have I answered that question fully?
Yes, thank you. Okay, we got a couple of questions about if you could further explain the Hope for Summer orientation. I know that we've canceled June orientations, but can you just explain the hope to bring students to campus in the summer, or are you doing virtual calls plus having students come in the summer? It looks like people are looking for a little clarification on that.
I wish I could tell you exactly how it's going to be. The ONR, the Orientation and Registration Planning Team, has investigated 3 or 4 different options for how we could handle it. The thing is, we're not going to know, we don't know right now whether or not we can actually bring you to campus in the summertime, which I know you're all feeling that as well because other activities are sort of hanging in limbo. So, but what I'm telling you is what I believe will happen, the approach that I think will be approved by our cabinet. They're considering these options right now, just to be perfectly transparent with you. One of those options is to talk with you virtually. If, let's say, we couldn't bring you to campus until August because of the pandemic, we don't want you to wait until August to learn your fall schedule. So we're trying to find the option that gives you the information you need and want right now and still protects everyone's safety. So that's what we're balancing. We expect a decision very soon on that, and you will need to watch your email for more information because we will let you know as soon as we know. Okay?
Perfect. Thanks, Mary. Okay, so we have time for one final question, and I'm going to throw Mary and Courtney's emails in the chat in case we don't get to everyone's questions, or if I missed anything, you are welcome to reach out to Mary and Courtney individually. But it looks like some students have questions on how many classes do students typically take their freshman year?
So when you come to Augustana, your annual tuition covers 34 credit hours. So you have actually 3 different terms. I don't know if you are all aware of our J term, which is our January term, where all first-year students take 1 4-credit-hour class. So if you do a little math, and I'm not good at doing math in my head, but here's some math I will attempt to explain. In the fall semester, you will take 3 4-credit-hour classes and probably some additional 1-credit-hour classes. Some of you may have a fall schedule that is 13 credits, and others who are involved in athletics, music, and so forth will have more than that. sometimes it helps to explain to students that even though 13 credits doesn't sound like very much to you, you cannot compare this to, say, 13 credits at another institution. We're on a 4-credit-hour system. The 3 classes you take, the 3 main classes you take, will all be 4 credits, and they are more work than a 3-credit-hour class. By definition, they're more work because they're worth 4 credits. So if you were to have 13 credits in the fall, 4 credits in the J term, you're at 17 credits. You have another 17 credits that you can use in the spring term. So you're able to take a heavier load in the spring. And what we generally do is encourage students to take the heavier load then. When they've gotten through the transition to college, they've made that transition. They've made the transition to not living under their parents' roof, managing their time, learning what to do with all the free time that it appears you have, but that is an appearance only. Isn't that right, Rachel and Courtney? So, and we will talk more about that. There's some information before you participate that we will give you information that explains this in detail, how the math is going to work. I hope I've answered that question well.
Yes, thank you. Again, if Mary or Courtney didn't get to your questions, or if we skipped over something, I tried to do my best. I threw their emails in the chat, so feel free to copy that, take a screenshot of that, whatever you need to do. But we need to make some time. Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead, Mary.
I saw one student asked about transfer credits. If you are a transfer student, you're going to have a one-on-one appointment with an advisor where we're going to go through all of the credit that is transferred in to Augustana, what requirements it meets, and where you go from here in terms of classwork. If you're a first-year student and you're bringing in transfer credit, be sure you put the name of those courses on the course interest form. We ask you for it there, okay? So, and we will talk with you during your one-on-one advising appointment about how those credits will come in.